economics. We're done with microeconomics. Let's now proceed to macro. Classes continue your discussion in economics. We're done with microeconomics. Let's now proceed to macroeconomics. We call it macroeconomics because ang di-discuss natin dito is the larger scale or the entire economy of a country. In microeconomics, the main concept is demand and supply. In macroeconomics, the main concept is the gross domestic product or GDP. So basta marinig mo yung macroeconomics, dapat uno may isip GDP. Okay? So ano ba ibig sabihin ng GDP? Basically, the gross domestic product is a measure of income and output of a country. Siyempre, Philippines yung pag-uusapan natin. So, hindi ko pag sinabi mong GDP, income and output of a country. GDP is also the primary measure of wealth of a country. Kung gaano kayaman ng isang bansa. Okay? Kaya ang tawag din dyan is national income. Right? So, syempre, mas mataas ang GDP mo, mas mayaman ka. Parang gano'n. If siguro familiar kayo dun sa GDP per capita, baka naririnig nyo yun. Ibig sabihin nun, GDP per Filipino. Right? Currently, nasa $3,300 yung GDP per capita natin. And I think ang rank natin is nasa around 128 tayo in the world. Okay? Now, GDP, again, is a measure of wealth. Mas mataas ang GDP, mas mayaman ang isang bansa. Now, how do we measure GDP? Sir, paano nako-compute yung GDP na yan? Two ways. Okay? May tinatawag tayong expenditure approach. And the second approach is income approach. Okay? So, income approach, kasi nga pala yung GDP is a measure of income. Expenditure approach, or lahat ng in-spend natin, kinonsume natin, or na-produce natin, kasi GDP is a measure of output. Okay? Now, yung expenditure approach, iyan yung mas ginagamit talaga in practice in measuring the GDP of a country. Okay? So, expenditure approach class, the GDP is computed as C plus I plus G plus X. CIGX. Okay? C plus I plus G plus X. Ano yung C? Consumption. Consumption. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga everyday consumption natin. Tayo yan. Mga household. Okay? Kinokonsume natin. The goods and services. Yung mga binibili natin. Nakaka-affect sa GDP yan. Alright? I naman stands for investment. Ito yung mga investment ng businesses. So yung business, nag-invest sa ng bagong building, bagong land, o kaya machineries, inventories, investment din yan. So, letter I is for investment. G naman is for government spending. Okay? So, government spending, basically, ito yung mga projects ng government. Pag nagpatayo ng infrastructure yung government, yun, may effect sa GDP yan. Nag-spend siya sa agriculture, sa health, or whatever, kung ano man yung mga projects ng government, makaka-affect sa GDP yan. Okay? Yung X naman class, ito yung exports minus imports. Exports minus imports. So, ibig sabihin, mas gusto natin, mas mataas yung exports natin compared sa imports. Okay? X is for net export channel. Ulitin ko. Pag sinabi mo expenditure approach, basically, iyan yung lahat ng produce or output ng isang bansa. Ano yung mga output ng isang bansa? Yung apat na yan. Consumption, iyan yung everyday consumption natin, tayo mga individuals. Investment, businesses. Okay? Pag nag-invest ng isang business, G is the government spending, lahat, mga infrastructure, lahat ng projects ng government. And X is net exports or exports minus imports. Gusto natin, mas mataas si export kaysa kay import. Alright? So, ang iba tawag din dito, class, apat na yan, is the aggregate demand. Ayan, yun yung ibang term dyan. Aggregate demand. Alright, now, second approach natin is income approach. Ulitin ko, class, kasi nga, yung GDP is a measure of income and output. So, yung output, ito na yun, yung expenditure approach. Income, ito yun, income approach. So basically, pag sabi mo income approach, income na, well, yung kinita natin. Okay, ano ba yung mga kinikita natin? Pag individual ka, salaries and wages. Tama? Yung compensation natin, yun yung income ng individuals. Pag businesses ka naman, pag business ka, well, ang income mo, yung profit. Okay, ano pa? Rental income, ano pa? Pag bangko ka, interest income. Okay, yan yung mga examples ng income ng isang business. What else? Sinasama din dito, class, yung natural resources. For example, oil and gas. Okay? Sinasama yan sa measurement ng income ng isang bansa. Kaya pag mas marami natural resources ng isang country, mas mataas dapat yung GDP niya. Okay? Ngayon, in economics class, ang term na ginagamit for natural resources is depreciation. We know in accounting, pag depreciation, PPE yan, di ba? Ang mas tamang term talaga dito, depletion sa accounting. Tama? So, yung depreciation sa economics, isipin mo na parang depletion yan. Tama? So, yung mga natural resources, we know in accounting, di-deplete natin sila or nagre-record tayo ng depletion sa kanila. Okay? What else? Sa income, also nandyan din yung government. In this case naman, ano ba yung income ng government? Taxes. Ayan, ito yung income approach. Add mo lahat yan ng kinita, ng individuals, ng businesses, ng government, mga natural resources. Isum mo lahat yan, i-add mo lahat yan, yun yung income approach. Okay, pero mas ginagamit yung expenditure approach class. No? And don't forget sa income approach, kailangan i-less mo dito. Less income earned abroad. Less income abroad. Okay? Or ito yung mga income na earn ng mga OFWs. Dapat hindi yan kasama. Less ha? Okay. So add mo lahat ng income, i-less mo yung na-earn ng mga OFWs. Bakit sir? Bakit tinatanggal mo yan? Kasi ang pinag-uusapan natin is, ano ba yung D dyan? Domestic. Pag domestic, lahat lang na nandito sa loob ng Philippines. Gross Domestic Product. Okay? Kaya class, yung GDP na yan, pag in-add mo yung income earned abroad, sino ba yung nag-earn ng income abroad? Mga OFWs. Ang tawag mo na dyan, GNP, Gross National Product. Naririnig niyan, di ba? GDP, GNP. Okay? So GDP, lahat ng nandito, na kinita sa Philippines. Pag sinama mo yung mga kinita ng mga OFWs, ang tawag na doon, Gross National Product or GNP. Okay, next. GDP nating class can be computed in two ways. No? Meron tayong tinatawag na nominal GDP and real GDP. Okay? Pag sinabing nominal GDP, may example ako later, sulat mo muna. Pag sinabing nominal GDP, mini-measure natin yung GDP using current prices. Okay? Pag naman sinabing real GDP, mini-measure natin yung GDP adjusted for inflation. Sir, ano ibig sabihin ng adjusted for inflation? We remove the effects, removes the effect of inflation. Okay? So, ulitin ko. Dalawang klase class yung GDP na computation. Nominal and real GDP. Pag sinabing nominal GDP, yung prices ngayon, current prices ng mga goods and services, yun yung consider natin. Pag real, tinatanggal mo yung epekto ng inflation. Okay? I'll give you an illustration. For example, class, year 1 and year 2. Okay? Output natin, na-produce natin, and then ito yung price. Okay? Price. Ito yung real GDP, ito yung nominal GDP. Right? So, output, price, real, and nominal GDP. Pakita ko lang sa inyo, magkasunod tayo. For example, nag-produce tayo ng 1,000 units. Sa year 2, tumaas, 1,500. Okay? Price natin 100, pero dahil sa inflation, sa year 2, naging 120 na siya. Right? Ano yung real GDP natin? Multiply mo lang, output saka price. 1,000 times 100, 100,000 yan. Nominal, same pa rin. Multiply mo lang yan. Pag real GDP, sa year 2, 1,500, i-multiply mo dun sa original price niya. Okay? Makukuha mo dito, 150,000. Tama? Now, pag nominal GDP, using current prices, which is 120, current price. 1,500 times 120, ano compute ko dito class? 180,000. Okay. Sa real GDP, ginamit mo yung original price. Sa nominal GDP, ang ginamit mo yung current price. Ano yung mas tama na gamitin? Current or real GDP? In practice, mas ginagamit yung real. Kaya nga real eh. Ibig sabihin, totoo. Bakit sir? Kasi class, ang effect talaga sa economy natin, di ba? Ang GDP measures the output. Tama? From 1,000, naging 1,500. So, ang kailangan na natin i-consider talaga dito, ang in-increase ng GDP natin is 500 units. Okay? Yung 80,000 na increase na yan, 100 to 180, may kasamang inflation yan. May kasamang increase in prices. Hindi iyon dapat yung gawin mong measure sa GDP. Ang tamang measure, ang real measure sa GDP is yung increase in output. Ano yung increase in output? From 1,000, naging 1,500. Yung 500. So, ang tamang GDP or yung mas ginagamit na GDP is the real. Wherein, tinatanggal natin yung effect ng inflation. Hindi mo sinasama yan. Gets na? Okay. Now, meron tayong computation dyan. No? Paano may i-convert yung nominal to real? Ganito lang yung class. Mamaya, meron tayong sasagot sa handouts. Pero isulat ko na muna. Real GDP is equal to nominal GDP over, may tinatawag tayong GDP deflator. Okay? Mamaya, may example tayo sa handouts. Sagutan natin. Or ito yung multiplier natin. Basically, ang epekto niyan, real GDP is equal to nominal GDP over GDP deflator or multiplier. Tinatanggal natin yung effect ng inflation. So, ang point ko lang dito, class, nominal, current prices. Mali yun. Mas magandang gawin ang measure is real GDP. Because sa real GDP, purely, ang tinitake into account lang natin, yung increase in production, increase in output, which is, yun talaga yung GDP. Okay, now, speaking of inflation, punta dito, meron tayong two types of inflation. We have what you call demand pull inflation and cost pull. Push inflation. Sir, ano difference yan? Pag demand full class, demand mas mataas sa supply. Excessive yung demand natin. Okay? Whenever excessive yung demand. For example, yung pandemic, yung start ng pandemic, yung face mask. Naalala nyo nung start pa lang, 2020, biglang sobrang dami yung demand sa face mask, sobrang taas ng presyo. Yung mga seller, talagang tinaas sila yung presyo. Okay? Tumaas yung prices. Ano ba inflation? General increases in price. Tama? In price of goods and services, yun yung inflation. Yun. Demand pull, nung start pa na yung pandemic, biglang nag-demand yung mga tao ng face mask. Yung mga sellers, sinamantala nila, tinaasan nila yung presyo. Inflation. Demand pull, inflation. So, ano naman yung cost push inflation? Cost push inflation, yung kanina, parang example natin, tumaas yung price ng sugar. Tumaas yung price ng sugar, yung Coca-Cola, gumagamit ng sugar yun. Tumaas yung price ng Coca-Cola. Okay? Hindi lang yung Coca-Cola, lahat ng gumagamit ng sugar as inputs. Cost push inflation. So demand pull, demand for the product yung ang reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng inflation. Sa cost push naman, more of supply ng product yan. Okay? So dito, more of demand, kaya demand pull yung tawag. Sa cost push naman, more of supply. Mas mahal na i-supply kasi ang taas ng inputs, ang taas ng sugar natin. Therefore, ang mga sellers, ang gagawin nila, itataas nila yung price ng final goods nila. Example natin, yung Coca-Cola. Kaya nagkakaroon ng inflation. Okay? Okay lang naman na may inflation, normal naman sa isang economy yan. Ang mahirap lang pag sobrang taas ng inflation rate. Dapat reasonable yung inflation. Okay? Next, so, inflation pa rin tayo. Sa inflation class, sabi dyan, inflation has an inverse relationship with unemployment. Unemployment. Hindi employment ha, unemployment ha. Okay. Inverse relationship. Ano ibig sabihin niya, sir? Pag tumaas daw yung GDP sa isang country, okay? Bababa yung unemployment. Ano ibig sabihin pag bumaba yung unemployment? Mas maraming magiging trabaho. Marami yung magiging employed. Okay? Bababa yung unemployment, well, tataas yung income ng mga tao. Siyempre, marami ang trabaho. Mas mataas yung income nila. Kakasweldo sila. Tama? Kaya lang, pag mataas yung income, tataas yung consumption. Maraming i-consume na goods and services. Okay? Ang tendency niyan, tataas yung prices ng mga bilihin. Alright? That's why, sabi dyan class, yung unemployment daw has an inverse relationship with inflation. Okay? Actually, ang tawag natin dyan, Phillips curve. Phillips curve. Or double. Ayan, Phillips curve ang tawag dyan. Pag graph mo yan, parang ganito class. Ito yung inflation, ito yung unemployment, parang pag ganun yung Phillips curve. Okay? Basta ang point is, inflation has an inverse, hindi direct, inverse relationship with unemployment. Speaking of unemployment, okay, UE na lang. Meron tayong 3 reasons kung bakit nagkakaroon ng unemployment sa isang bansa. Okay, number 1 is because of frictional unemployment, structural, and cyclical. Tatlo yan. Cyclical. Frictional, structural, and cyclical. Ano sir, ibig sabihin ng frictional unemployment? Ito class yung mismatch between workers and jobs. Sulat mo na, workers and jobs. May mismatch or may delay. Ang maganda example niyan kapag fresh graduate ka. Tapos ka ng 4 years sa course mo, pag graduate mo, unemployed ka. Okay? Maghanap pa ng trabaho. Diba? Yun yung frictional. Okay? Another example, gusto mo lumipat ng trabaho. Nag-resign ka sa isang company. Okay? Tapos, syempre, naghanap-hanap ka ng trabaho for few months, wala kang trabaho, unemployed ka. Frictional. Kasi may mismatch between workers and available jobs. Gets? Structural. Changes in structure of a company, of a business. Ang maganda example nito, automation. For example, dati, ang gumagawa ng marker, manual. Mga tao talaga. Okay? Because nagkaroon ng automation, mga robots na or machines na yung gumagawa ng marker. Because of that, kailangan magbawas ng trabaho, mag-lay off ng mga laborers. Because of automation. So, because of changes in the structure of a business, ang maganda example is automation, nababawasan ng trabaho. Okay? Unemployment yun, source of unemployment. And last one is cyclical unemployment. Ano naman yun, sir? This is because of the business cycle. Okay? Ano ba yung business cycle? Isang cycle ng isang business. Okay? Business cycle, merong 4 stages yan. Meron tayong tinatawag na peak. Sulat mo, peak. Bababa ka, ang tawag dyan, recession. Pinakababa, ang tawag sa'yo, trough. And then yung papataas na, ang tawag sa'yo dyan, recovery. Okay, para mas madali mo maintindihan, pandemic ulit tayo. Ano yung peak? 2019. Bago mag-pandemic, sabihin natin na okay naman yung economy natin. Uy, noong 2020 ba, nagka-pandemic, unti-unti, bumababa, nawawala ng trabaho, okay? Recession. 2020, nagbawas ng mga trabaho yung mga businesses. Trough, let's say 2021, ayan. Dito yung talagang peak na ng mga COVID cases sa pandemic. Flat na yung economy natin, okay? Mababa ng economy natin. 2022, kahit pa paano, nakaka-recover na. Nakaka-recover na yung economy. Nababawasan na yung cases, babalik na sa normal, nagre-recover na yung economy. Okay? Pag may nabasa may business cycle, isipin mo na lang yan. Yung peak, ito yung pinaka-boom part ng economy. Okay, 2019. Uy, nagkaroon ng pandemic, kumukunti trabaho, recession ang tawag doon. Babang-baba na 2021, sobrang dami ng unemployed na tao, trough ang tawag doon. 2022, medyo nakaka-recover na tayo from the pandemic, recovery ang tawag doon. Okay? Ulitin ko lang, may 3 sources ng unemployment: frictional, structural, and cyclical. Okay. Last part, role of government. Government natin has a huge role for economic development. Siyempre, ang gusto natin, mataas ang GDP natin. Okay? Growth ng economy natin. Okay? Ang malaking influence yan is the government. Okay? Aside from mataas ang GDP, okay, ang gusto rin natin is makontrol yung inflation rate. Again, okay lang naman na may inflation, normal naman yan. Huwag na sobrang taas ng inflation rate. Pag sobrang taas ng inflation rate, sobrang taas yung prices. Tayo, yung mga consumers, tayong adversely affected. Kasi mas konti mabibili na income natin. Okay? Now, role of government or government intervention. Meron 2 ways si government para sa economic growth. Okay? Or para makontrol yung inflation natin. Number 1 is fiscal policy. And number 2 is monetary policy. Yan ang kayang gawin ng government. Pag sinabing fiscal policy class, it's through the use of taxes and government spending, okay, to influence the economy. Pag fiscal policy, dalawa isipin mo dyan, taxes and government spending. Ano ba pwedeng gawin ng government sa taxes? Well, pwede niya ibaba yan. Pag binaba niya yung taxes, naalala niyo yung create, di ba yung corporate tax from 30% naging 25%, tax table ng individuals nag-improve, tama? Yun, binaba yung tax rates. Ano nangyari doon? Well, nung binaba ng government yung taxes natin, tumaas yung disposable income natin. Ano ba yung disposable income? Yung net pay ng mga tao, mga nagtatrabaho, net pay nila. Mas konti taxes, mas mataas yung net pay nila. Ang tawag doon, disposable income. Mataas yung disposable income, tumaas yung consumption, mas marami tayo nabibiling goods and services. Again, pag tumaas yung consumption mo, tumaas yung output mo, mataas yung GDP mo. Okay? So, ang tendency niyan, tataas yung GDP natin. Kaya lang, pag tumaas yung GDP mo, ingat ka kasi baka naman sumobra yung demand, okay, sa goods and services, ang tendency din yan, tataas yung mga prices ng mga bilihin, okay? So, mataas yung economic growth mo, GDP mataas, ingat ka kasi naman baka tumaas din yung mga prices, inflation. Again, dapat makontrol natin yung inflation. Pag naman tinaas mo yung taxes, well, ang maganda dyan, tataas yung revenue ng government, tama? Kasi mas mataas yung taxes eh. Ang problema dyan, bababa yung disposable income natin. So, isipin mo, class, pag tinaasan yung taxes, kung tatrabaho ka, let's say, ang ginawa, kalahati ng kita mo napunta sa taxes. Bababa yung disposable income mo, tama? Bababa yung consumption natin. Bababa yung GDP natin. Okay? So, bababa din yung mga prices ng mga products natin. So, ibig sabihin, class, ang point lang nito, pinakita ko na yan, si government, dapat makita niya ano yung, may strike niya kung ano yung tamang balance ng taxes. Hindi pwedeng sobrang taas ng taxes, hindi na pwede sobrang baba ng taxes. Okay? Kasi yung taxes, yan ginagamit ng government para sa mga projects niya. Balance lang dapat. Hindi sobrang taas, hindi sobrang baba. Sakto lang dapat yung taxes. Gets? Okay. Another way sa fiscal policy is the government spending. Basically, ang government spending class, ito yung mga government projects. For example, si government magtatayo siya ng highway infrastructure, highway or expressway. No? Ang tendency dyan class, syempre, pag mas maraming projects, ang mangyayari doon, mas mataas ang employment. Tama? Mas maraming ma-employ na mas maraming trabaho ang mapoprovide sa mga Filipinos. Okay? Mataas yung employment, mataas yung income ng mga tao. Mataas yung consumption, and syempre, positive yung magiging effect niyan sa GDP. Okay? Mas mataas yung income eh. Measure of income. Pag mas mataas yung income, mas mataas GDP natin. So, as the government spends on its projects, positive yung contribution niyan sa gross domestic product natin. Okay? Ang tawag mo doon is the fiscal policy. Ulitin ko, si government dapat balansehin niya. Sa fiscal policy, balansehin niya yung taxes, balansehin niya yung government spending. Okay? Next, monetary policy. Sa monetary policy class, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito is the money supply. Ano ba, sir, ibig sabihin ng money supply? Pag sinabing money supply, yun yung nagsisirculate na pera sa economy natin. Yun yung umiikot na pera sa economy. Okay? Money supply. Ang may control sa money supply is the central bank or the BSP, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Si BSP, meron siyang 3 ways para makontrol yung money supply. Alright, 3 ways. Sulat mo muna, class. And then may illustration tayo later. Number 1 is through the discount rate. The discount rate, ito rin yung interest rate. Okay? So, ano ibig sabihin ng discount rate na yan? Yung mga commercial banks kasi, class, BDO, BPI, pwede silang umutang kay BSP. Okay? Pwede silang umutang kay BSP, mga commercial banks natin na yan. Pwede yan. Ngayon, yung discount rate or interest rate, yun yung rate na i-charge ni BSP dun sa mga commercial banks. Yun ibig sabihin nun. Ulitin ko, yung mga bangko na yan, yung mga kilala mong bangko, pwedeng umutang kay BSP yan. Okay? Yung rate na i-charge ni BSP sa mga bangko na yan, tawag doon, discount rate. Ngayon, class, pag ang ginawa ni BSP, pag tinaas niya yung discount rate, sige nga, ano mangyayari sa money supply? Tataas or bababa? Pag tinaas niya yung discount rate, yung rate na i-charge niya sa mga bangko, tingin mo, dadami ba yung mag-uutang kay BSP? Mas kukunti kasi mataas yung rate eh. Ibig sabihin, bababa yung money supply sa economy. Mas kukunti yung ikot ng pera sa economy. Tama? Ayan. Number 1, discount rate. Number 2 is through the bank reserve requirement ratio. Okay? Bank reserve requirement na lang. Bank reserve requirement, yun yung second way ni BSP para makontrol yung money supply. Sir, ano yan? Lagyan ko ng asterisk ka. Pag sinabi mong bank reserve requirement, ibig sabihin niyang, class, ito yung percentage of deposits the banks are not allowed to lend. Ulitin ko, pag sinabing bank reserve requirement, percentage of deposits the banks are not allowed to lend. Ganito yung, class. For example, nag-deposit ako sa BDO. Okay? So, pag nag-deposit ako sa BDO, tama ba si BDO, para kumita siya dun sa deposit, ipapautang na yun sa iba. Tama? Kasi nung na-receive ni BDO, ganito yung sa accounting eh, di ba sa accounting ganyan? Sa books ni BDO, pag nag-deposit ka, debit, cash, credit, deposit, liability. Tama? May liability si BDO. Paano kikita sa BDO? Yung cash na yun, for example, nag-deposit ako, 100,000. Ilo-loan na yan sa ibang tao. Debit, loans, receivable, credit, cash. Doon siya magkakaroon ng interest. Kaya lang, sinabi mong bank reserve requirement ratio, ibig sabihin ng, class, yung 100,000 na yan, hindi yan allowed by BSP na ipautang mo lahat sa ibang tao. Siguro, 80,000 lang. Okay? Ibig sabihin yan, 20%, yun yung bank reserve requirement. Bakit ganun, sir? Yung 20% na yung, class, protection yan. Kasi imagine, kapag lahat ng depositors, i-withdraw nila lahat ng deposits nila, walang ibibigay sa BDO kasi kung lahat niloan niya sa ibang tao. Pag sinabing bank reserve requirement, yun yung percentage ng deposits na hindi allowed si BSP, si BDO, na ipautang sa mga tao. Okay? Kaya 100 dineposit mo, 80 lang pwede niyong ipautang sa mga tao. Okay, now, ngayon, class, pag tumaas yung bank reserve requirement, anong mangyayari sa money supply? Sige mabuti. Sa example natin, 20%. Pag ang ginawa ni BSP, o gawin natin 50%, tinaasan to, anong mangyayari sa money supply? Bababa yan, of course, kasi konti yung makakautang sa mga bangko. Does that make sense? Okay, so ayan siya. Now, sir, ano ba exactly ibig sabihin mo dun sa circulation or umiikot ng money supply? Ano ba ibig sabihin, sir? Tingin ka dito. Ganito yan. Pag nagkaroon ng income, o pag nagkaroon ng, yung mga businesses, ganito yan. Ito, kunwari. Pag yung business, nag-loan siya sa bangko, okay? Siyempre, dadami yung businesses. Pag nakapag-loan sila, mas makakapagbenta sila. Tama? Yung businesses na yung, class, may magtatrabaho dyan. Sino magtatrabaho dyan? Yung mga household. Tayo, magtatrabaho tayo. Pag mas madaming business, mas malaking income na nabibigay niyan sa household. Papasweldo eh. Tama? Mas malaki sweldo. Yung sweldo na yun, ini-spend din ng mga tao. Saan niya ini-spend yun? Bumibili din sila from the businesses. Kaya umiikot lang yung pera. Household businesses. Kaya pag mataas yung money supply, mas mataas, mas maraming pera yung umiikot dito. Pag mababa yung money supply, mas makonti yung pera dyan. Gets? Okay. So, ayan. Kaya mahalaga to. Pag tumaas yung discount rate or bank reserve requirement, bababa yung money supply. Third one, ito yung last na pwedeng gawin ni BSP under monetary policy. Engage in open market operations. Ano yun, sir, yung open market operations? Ganito yung, class. Si BSP kasi, through the Bureau of Treasury, okay, si BSP, through the Bureau of Treasury, nag-i-issue yan ng mga government bonds, okay, or mga treasury bonds, treasury bills. Okay? Ngayon, sa open market operations, pwedeng mag-buy or sell si BSP. Okay? Isa sa mga functions na yan. So, ganito mangyayari dyan, class. Si BSP, pag nag-issue siya ng, let's say, treasury bills sa public, tayo, yung mga investors o yung public, ano mangyayari dyan? Tama ba si public, mag-i-invest siya, so magbibigay siya ng cash kay BSP. Tama? Ngayon, treasury bills, yun yung ibibigay sa public. Paano magkikita si public? Siyempre, sa mga interest. Tama? Ngayon class, as you notice, yung cash from public napunta kay BSP. Ibig sabihin, pag nag-sell kasi yan nag-sell ng treasury bills, si BSP sa public, ayan, nag-sell Pag nag-sell, ano mangyayari sa money supply class? Tataas or bababa? Pag nag-sell si BSP sa public, bababa yung money supply mo. Bakit sir? Kasi class, ang mangyayari dyan, yung pera, instead na nandito, napunta kay BSP. Gets? On the other hand, pag naman bumili si BSP, yung cash, pag nag-invest si BSP, yung cash na pupunta sa mga tao. Yung money supply mo naman yun, tataas. Pag sell, bababa yung money supply kasi mapupunta yung cash kay BSP. Pag buy, tataas yung money supply because yung cash from BSP malilipat sa dito, sa mga tao. Okay? Magkakaroon ng mas maraming business, maraming trabaho, may income, maraming consumption or spending. Iikot siya sa economy natin. Now, last concept na for macroeconomics. Yung sinasabi ko na money supply na yan, okay? Or yung circulation ng money, hindi lang isang ikot yan. Okay? So, for example, dito, nag-loan ka ng 80,000 okay, sa business. Maraming ikot yan sa economy. Ang tawag natin doon, money multiplier. Money multiplier. Okay? Ito lang naman yung tinatawag na computation usually sa macroeconomics or MM. Money multiplier is equal to 1 minus, ito, actually, ang formula dyan, itong reserve requirement, okay? 1 over reserve requirement, okay? Mamaya, apply natin yan. Labas ko, Money multiplier, ibig sabihin, pag nag-release ng pera sa economy, gaano kalaki yung effect niyan sa economy? Ilang beses umiikot yan? Nagsi-circulate. Ang tawag doon, money multiplier. Later, magsasolve tayo ng problem for this one. Okay, that's your macroeconomics. Tapusin natin to class. Let's go to our theory questions. Number 24. 24, under income approach. Saan yan? Ito. Ano yung income approach? Well, lahat ng income sa economy. Okay? Individuals, businesses, natural resources, government. GDP is measured by depreciation or depletion, indirect taxes, or taxes. Ano ba indirect taxes? VAT, for example. Wages, rents, interest, profits, minus net income abroad. Tanggalin mo yan, Less income abroad kasi domestic. Pag sinabi mo yung net income abroad, GNP na yung tawag doon. Letter A yung sagot mo dyan under income approach. Okay? Let's go to number 25. In national income terms or GDP, aggregate demand is, aggregate demand, CIGX. Okay? Punta ka dun sa letter D. Total expenditure approach on consumer goods, investment, government, and foreign expenditure during a period. Tanda mo class, pag expenditure approach naman, CIGX agad. Consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. Alright? Letter GOG for number 25. Number 26. For a given level of tax collections, prices, and interest rates, a decrease in government purchases, ito, government spending. Pag bumaba yung class, ano mangyayari? Pag bumaba yung government spending natin, C, decrease in aggregate demand. Obviously, kasi yung mga government spending, for example, mga government projects, nakaka-contribute sa economic growth or sa growth ng GDP. Pag binaba mo yan, bababa yung GDP natin. Or ibang tawag doon is aggregate demand. Letter C. Okay. Number 27, assume the real GDP measured in 20x0 or let's call it 2020 pesos rose from, ano ba yung 3,000 billion? 3 trillion, okay? 3 trillion in 2020 to 4.5 trillion in 2022. Assume also that the price index rose from 100 to 200. Okay, ang ginagamit nating class dito, para ma-convert yung nominal to real is the Consumer Price Index or CPI. Baka naririnig niyo yun. CPI, okay? Basically, yan yung information about inflation, no? CPI. Okay, the GDP for 2020 expressed in terms of 2022 prices is, ang tanong dito class, what is the real GDP? Ayan yan. Kasi nominal GDP yung binigay sa atin. 3 trillion noong 2020, 4.5 trillion noong 2022. Okay? Tapos, yung index daw or yung CPI, Consumer Price Index, nag-increase from 100 to 200. Ganito yung class. Diba? Ito yung formula natin. Real GDP. Ito lang. Real is equal to nominal over yung GDP deflator, ang technical term niya. Pero let's call it multiplier. Okay? Now, ang tanong is real. Tama? ang tanong sa atin class is 2020, okay? In terms of 2022 prices. Oh, sorry, ang tanong pala is nominal. Sorry, ulit natin class. Basahin natin. Number 27. Assume that real GDP, real pala yung given sa atin. Sorry real GDP measured in 2020 pesos, 3 trillion. So 3 trillion to. Okay? Ang tinatanong sa atin nominal. In 2020 to 4.5 trillion in 2022. Also, assume that the price index rose from 100 to 200. Yung multiplier mo class, 100 na naging 200. 2. Okay, 2 yan. Multiplier mo is 2. Okay? So, how much yung nominal GDP natin? Ganoon nakasimple. Okay? The GDP for 2020 expressed in terms of 2022 prices. Ano yun? Current prices. Ibig sabihin, ang tanong sa'yo, okay, ang real GDP is 3 trillion. How much naman yung nominal GDP? Oh, apply mo lang yung formula. Paano yan? 2 times 3 trillion. 3 trillion times 2, 6 trillion yung sagot mo dyan. Letter, dog. Ganoon kasimple. Okay? So, actually, kung isipin mo sa accounting yan, para ka lang nag-discount. Okay? So, and dinivide mo lang siya sa multiplier, makukuha mo yung real. Para ka nagdi-discount ng future value, parang ganun. Anyway, so ganyan lang siya. Ganyan lang kasimple, okay? Letter D yung sagot mo dyan, dog. Number 28, which of the following may provide a leading indicator for a future increase in GDP? A, reduction in money supply. Mali yan. Kasi pag konti yung money supply mo, konti yung iikot dito sa economy. So, bababa yung GDP mo dyan. Letter B, a decrease in issuance of building permits. Pag konti yung issuance of building permits, ibig sabihin, mas konti nagbi-business. Okay? So, apektado ka dyan. Wala kang investment. So, bababa yung GDP mo dyan. An increase in the timeliness of delivery by vendors, more of dog, an increase in the average hours work per week of production workers. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, mas tumataas, mas nagiging productive tayo, increase in average hours work, nag-i-increase yung, mas nagiging productive tayo, tumataas yung income natin, tumataas yung consumption natin. Okay? More letter D yan, increase in GDP. Ulitin ko, kasi dyan, income yung mini-measure, tama? GDP is a measure of income. Ngayon, kung mas mataas yung average of hours work natin, malamang mas mataas yung bayad sa atin dyan, mas mataas yung income. Dog. Number 29, the trough of a business cycle. Business cycle. So yung trough, pinakamababa yan, 2021, no, sa pandemic. Is characterized by, dog yung sagot mo dyan, unused productive capacity and unwillingness to risk new investments. Noong 2021, nung sobrang daming COVID cases, ang konting may gusto na mag-business. Siyempre, sino bibili sa kanila? Ha? So, tingnan natin yung ibang choices. A, shortage of essential raw materials and rising cost, recession yan. Tumataas yung prices, kumukunti trabaho, recession. B, increasing purchasing power, increasing capital investments, recovery yan. Unti-unti nakaka-recover yung economy. C, rising and willingness dapat. Rising and willingness to risk new investments. Pag ganun, peak naman yan. Okay? Yung dog mo dyan is trough ang tawag dyan. Okay? So, trough. Dog for number 29. 30, during the recessionary phase. Recession. 2020 yung recession natin. Letter C yung sagot dyan. Potential national income will exceed actual national income. Ano ba yung national income? GDP. Ano yung potential GDP or pinakamataas na GDP na pwede nating maabot? Yung peak. Ito. Okay? Pero yung actual mo lang ito. Kasi nga recession. Ibig sabihin, yung potential GDP, mas mataas actual GDP. Letter C, during recessionary phase. Number 31, economists and economic policymakers are interested in multiplier effect. Money multiplier. Because the multiplier explains why, letter A yung sagot mo dyan, a small change in investment can have a much larger impact on GDP. Okay? So, yung money supply mo, hindi lang isang ikot yan. Maraming ikot yan. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na money multiplier. Letter A. 32, if a government were to use only fiscal policy, taxes and government spending, it would punta ka dun sa dog. Lower consumer taxes and increase government spending. Kasi kapag binabaan mo yung taxes, tataas yung disposable income. Taas yung consumption, taas yung GDP. Pag naman in-increase mo yung government spending, mas maraming trabaho, mas maraming projects, taas yung income, tataas yung GDP. Okay, stimulate the economy daw Dito gawin mo, letter D. Number 33, FYI na lang to, no? Sa money supply kasi class, sa economics, may iba, kumbaga sa accounting, meron tayong cash in bank, cash on hand, mga ganyan, cash in cash equivalents. Sa economics naman, sa money supply, may tinatawag silang M1, M2, and M3. Okay? So para matandaan mo yan, yung M1 parang cash in bank natin yan sa accounting. Yung M2 naman, para siyang cash in cash equivalents natin sa accounting. M3, or money 3, para siyang cash in cash equivalents plus short-term investments. Para nang matandaan. Parang ganito equivalent niya. M1, cash in bank. M2, cash in cash equivalents. M3, cash in cash equivalents plus short-term investments. So yung M1 dito class, boy yung sagot mo dyan. Currency, demand deposit, and other checks. Okay? Letter C is M2, letter D is M3. No, FYI na lang. Boy yung sagot natin for 33. Number 34, in order for the BSP to increase daw yung money supply. The appropriate policy would be, okay, tingnan natin class, isa natin, tingnan ko kung talaga naiintindihan nyo. Gusto natin i-increase yung money supply. Pag in-increase yung money supply, tataas yung GDP natin. Pero ingat ka, pag tumaas yung GDP mo, baka tumaas din yung prices. Balance lang dapat, okay? A, encourage banks to increase their holdings. Hindi, kasi pag in-increase nila yung holdings nila, or ibig sabihin, pag hindi sila nagpa-loan outside, mas konti yung iikot na pera sa economy. So, mali yan. B, increase the discount rate. Pag in-increase mo yung discount rate, konti magbabaro na bangko sa BSP. O, bababa yung money supply. Mali rin yan. Letter C ang sagot dyan. Engage in open market purchases of government securities. Pag bumili kasi si government, si BSP, yung pera nalilipat from BSP to the public sa buy. Kaya increase yung money supply. Letter C yung sagot mo dyan. Letter D, raise margin requirements. O, wala yan. Letter C yung sagot mo sa 34. Okay? 35, BSP's reserve ratio is, eto, bank reserve requirement. Ang sagot mo dyan, A, the specified percentage of a commercial bank's deposit that must be deposited in the central bank. Actually, class, yung bank reserve requirement na yan, currently nasa 12% tayo, no? Ito yung reserve requirement ni BSP. 12% ang dineposit mo. Kunyari kay BDO, nag-deposit ka 12, sa 12% ang dineposit mo, hindi niya pwedeng ipaloan yan sa ibang tao. Yun yung current na reserve requirement ratio ni BSP today, ha? Now, yung 12% na yan, technically, i-deposit yan ng mga bangko kay BSP. De-deposit nila yan para security. Para sigurado si BSP na hindi mo talaga pinapaloan sa iba yan. I-deposit mo sa akin, sa BSP, okay? A yung sagot dyan. The specified percentage of a commercial bank's deposit that must be deposited in central bank, or yan yung mga hindi allowed to be lent to borrowers. Okay? 35 is A. 36, the money supply will decrease. Okay, so yung open market purchase, pag purchase, increase yan, mali yan. A decrease in the reserve ratio, pag decrease, pag decrease mo yan, tataas yan. Okay, mali ulit. Increase in the reserve ratio. Pag in-increase mo yan, mas marami nang magbabaro sa bangko. Therefore, pag in-increase mo yan, yung reserve ratio, mas konti yung makakapagbaro. Kasi, ulitin ko, pag nag-increase yung reserve ratio, mas konti yung pwedeng ipautang ni banks sa mga borrowers. Therefore, mas konti yung iikot na pera sa economy natin. Letter C yung sagot mo dyan. Okay? Number 37, given a deposit expansion model in which the required reserve ratio is 12.5%, a 100,000 purchase of government securities will result in the maximum increase or decrease in money supply. Paano natin malalaman kung ilang beses iikot yung pera sa economy natin? Money multiplier. Okay? Paano yung money multiplier? 1 over reserve requirement. Asan yung reserve requirement dito? 20%. Ano yung 1 over 20%? So, money multiplier is equal to 1 over 20%, which is 5. Tama ba yun? So, ibig sabihin, class, yung 100,000 na yan na ilalabas na pera. Tama? Hindi lang 100,000 ang epekto sa economy niyan. Merong multiplier yan. 5 times 100,000, ang sagot mo dyan, class, hindi pala, 8 pala yun. 1 over, saan ba yung, saan ba 20% na yan? 12.5% pala. So, litin ko ha. Okay, so 12.5%, ang multiplier mo is not 5. 1 over 12.5%, 1 divided by 0.125, 8. Okay, 8 yung multiplier mo. Ganito yung class. Pag may nirelease na pera sa economy, 8 times siyang iikot. Parang ganun mo sa isipin. Okay? So, nag-release ng 100,000 sa economy, 8 times iikot yan. So, sagot mo dyan, letter D, 800,000. Dog. Ganun kasimple. Number 38, a banking system with reserve ratio of 20% and changes in reserves of 1 million can increase total deposits. So, ganun lang din. Nag-release ng 1 million. Okay? So, 1 over 20% is equal to 5. So, ibig sabihin, yung i-release na pera sa economy, 5 times iikot yan. 5 times 1 million, sagot mo dito, 5 million. Letter boy for number 38. Yun lang simple. Okay, ito yung estimate mo ng ikot sa economy, money multiplier. Letter B. Number 39, the discount rate of the BSP is, ito, punta ka dun sa boy, the rate that the central bank charges for loans granted to commercial banks. Again, yung mga commercial banks, pwedeng umutang kay BSP yan. Ano yung rate na i-charge ng BSP sa commercial banks? Ang tawag dun, discount rate. Letter boy. The most effective policy program to help reduce demand pool inflation. Ano yung demand pool? Demand pool inflation, masyadong maraming demand. Excessive. Okay? Example natin, yung face mask. Yung start ng pandemic, sobrang dami nag-demand dyan. Paano daw natin i-counter yan? Okay. Paano mo i-counter ang demand pool inflation? Well, kailangan pababain mo yung income ng mga tao. Parang ganun. Punta ka sa DOG. Increase taxes and decrease government spending. Pag in-increase mo yung tax, alright? Pag in-increase mo yan, bababa ang net pay ng mga tao. Okay? Mas konti ang magiging demand nila. Bakit? Siyempre, bababa yung income nila. Kukunti yung demand. Baka counter mo ngayon dyan yung demand pool inflation. Dog yung sagot dyan. Number 41, a period of rising inflation. Dog increases the price level, which is negatively related to the purchasing power. Obviously, pag mas nagmahal yung bilihin, mas konti ang mabibili mo. Okay? Lalo na, pag yung income mo is the same. Tama? So, kunwari, ang income mo is 30,000 per month. Tumaas yung bilihin, mas konti ang mabibili mo. Alright? So, that is what you call inflation. So, again, inflation is normal, pero dapat reasonable yung inflation rate. Dapat hindi sobrang taas niyan. Okay? Number 42, the Laffer curve. Okay, FYI na lang to. Predicts that yung Laffer curve kalas, may graph yan, ganito yan. Yung nasa vertical axis yan, ito yung tax revenues. Okay? Ito naman yung tax rate. Ganito yung graph yan pag ganun. Ano ibig sabihin niyan, sir? As the government increases the tax rate, tumataas yung revenue niya ng government. Tama lang, di ba? Taas yung tax rate, mas malaki taxes na ibabayad natin. Mas malaki revenue ng government. Kaya lang may dadating yung point na bababa yan. Ibig sabihin, pag sobrang tinaas ni government yung taxes, marami nang madi-discourage ng mga tao. For example, ang gawin ni government, o sige, yung corporate tax natin, from 25%, gawin natin 50%. Maraming businesses na madi-discourage na ituloy yung business nila. Tama? Or maraming hindi na mag-start ng business kasi masyadong malaki yung taxes na ibabayad sa government. Kaya, ito yung sasabi ko kanina, dapat balance lang yung tax rate. Hindi masyadong mataas, hindi masyadong mababa. Kaya sabi sa Laffer curve, dapat sakto lang yung tax rate mo. Kasi pag sobrang tinaas mo yung tax rate mo, bababa yung revenues ng government. Bakit? Kasi maraming businesses ang mag-stop or maraming individuals ang hindi na ma-motivate na mag-start ng business. Okay? So, number 42, the Laffer curve predicts that, letter C, if the tax rates are too high, the tax revenues will decrease. Okay, letter C, sagot dyan. 43, unemployment that is caused by a mismatch between the composition of labor in terms of skill, occupation, industries is called structural mismatch between the composition of labor force and makeup demand for labor is called unemployment that is caused, this is frictional pala class. Letter C for number 43. Unemployment that is caused by a mismatch between the composition of labor force in terms of skill, occupation, industries, geographical location, frictional unemployment yan. Letter C, okay? Pag sinabi mong frictional unemployment, ang example ko kanina dito is yung mga fresh grad. Pag fresh grad ka pa lang, syempre, unemployed ka. Okay, naghahanap ka pa ng trabaho. Or pag nag-resign ka, sa company, it takes you few months bago ka makahanap ng bagong trabaho. Alright? Sige. So, that's what you call frictional employment, letter C. And then, number 44 and number 45, ayan, last na to class, 2 items na lang. Additional concept lang to, no? Dito tayo pumunta sa income. Dito sa circulation ng money. Ganito yung class. May tinatawag tayong concept na marginal, nasa na yan? May tinatawag tayong concept dito class na sa income ng isang individual. Right? So, saan ko siya pwede ilagay? Erase natin to. Dito lang, tapos na tayo sa money. Supply. Dito lang. Okay. Sa income ng isang individual, okay, may portion dyan class na i-consume niya. Alright? Ang tawag doon, marginal propensity to consume. MPC, marginal propensity to consume. Or may portion doon na tinatawag natin na marginal propensity to save. I'll give you an illustration. For example, class, ang income mo ngayon, ang salary mo ngayon is 30,000. Okay? Ngayon, na-promote ka, naging 40,000, tumaas ng 10,000. Okay? Pag sinabi mo marginal propensity to consume, yun yung percentage ng 10,000 na i-consume mo or i-spend mo. Okay? Kasi dalawa lang naman yan. Ano ba pwede? Mong gawin sa increase na 10,000 na yan. Dalawa lang yan. Yung 10K na yan, it's either gagastusin mo or isa-save mo. Okay? Kaya sinabing marginal. Sabihin yung additional. Pag tumaas yung income mo na 10,000, hindi naman lahat yan, class, gagastusin mo. Yung iba dyan, isa-save mo. Pag sinabing MPC, marginal propensity to consume, yan yung addition, pag nag-increase yung income mo, yan yung percentage na gagastusin mo. Marginal propensity to save, yan yung percentage na isa-save mo. Kaya pag in-add mo yan, MPC plus MPS, syempre, yung total increase dun sa income mo. Ano sa effect niyan? Actually, may epekto to class sa ikot ng pera. Kasi di ba may spending tayo dyan? So, pag nagkaroon ka ng income, hindi naman lahat yan, spend mo. Ang i-spend mo, yung MPC, marginal propensity to consume. Yun yung epekto sa circulation of money. Okay? So, sabi dito class, number 44, if an increase in government purchase of goods and services of 30 billion causes equilibrium GDP to rise by 120 billion, so yun yung additional income natin, kasi GDP is an income, tama? So, lagyan natin dito. Alright, so GDP is an income. Okay, taxes, investment, consumption, net exports are constant. What is the marginal propensity to consume? Okay, ganito lang yan. So, 120 billion na income or yung GDP natin, ilang percent dyan daw class yung purchase. So, yung purchase, sabi dyan, increase in government purchase, yun yung consumption, tama? So, yung marginal propensity to consume natin is 30 billion. So, kung yung 30, yung kinonsume mo, ibig sabihin, yung sinave mo or marginal propensity to save is 90. Tama? 120, 30 dyan, kinonsume mo, 90 yung sinave mo. So, ano yung MPC natin? Edi 30 divided by 120. Ganun kasimple. 30 over 120, that is 25%. 25%. Yung MPS mo naman, divided by 120, 75%. Kaya pag in-add mo yan, lagi 100% yan. Sagot mo dyan, letter A for MPC. Yung MPS mo, marginal propensity to save is letter boy. Okay? Last item, 45. A consumer has the following consumption pattern at different levels. So, mayroon kang income. Erase na, dito natin gawin. Parang malinaw. Simple computation na naman yung class, no? Economics kung meron ng computation. So, meron tayong income, merong consumption, and lagay natin yung save. Okay? 250 income, 300 and 350. Consumption dyan, 130, 160, and 190. So, kasama ba kung ang income mo is 250 income, 300 and 350. Consumption dyan, 130, 160, and 190. So, kasama ba kung ang income mo is 250, 130 dyan yung kinukonsume mo, ibig sabihin, yung difference na 120, yung sinasave mo. Tama lang? 300, 160 kinukonsume mo, 140 yung sinasave mo. 350, 190 yung kinukonsume mo, so, ganyan, 350 minus 190, 160 yung sinasave mo. Does that make sense? Okay. At income level of 300, ayun. This consumer has a marginal propensity to consume of how much? Ano ba yung marginal? Additional. Okay? So, from 250, naging 300. Ano yung additional income natin? 50. Alright? Dun sa 50 na yun, ilan yung kinonsume mo? From 130, naging 160. Ibig sabihin, 30 yung kinonsume mo. Ang sinave mo, 120 to 140, 20 yung sinave mo. MPC mo dyan, 30. MPS mo, 20. Okay? So, 30 over 50, MPC mo is 60% or 0.6. MPS mo, 20 over 50, that is 40%. Okay? So, 60% na or 0.6 na yung marginal propensity to consume natin. Ngayon, meron din tayong concept na average propensity. Okay? Pag average, total naman yung kino-consider natin. So, kanina marginal, additional. Pag average, total naman. So, sabi dyan, sa 300, di ba? Ano yung total na income natin? 300. How much dyan yung average propensity to consume, average propensity to save? Sa 300, ang kino-consume natin, 160. Ang sinasave natin is 140. O, ganun kasimple. 160 over 300, ilan yan? 160 over 300, you get 0.53. Okay? Or 53%. 140 divided by 300, 140 divided by 300, that is 0.47. Okay? Or 47%. Gawin natin siyang percentage. 53%. Okay. So, ang tanong dyan is average propensity to save, 47%. Sagot mo, 60% and 47%. That is letter C. 0.6 and 0.47. Ulitin ko lang. Pag marginal, additional, yung ina-analyze natin. Pag average, total ang ina-analyze natin. Okay, so that's for number 45. Okay, so that's it for economics.